Hello, everybody. I see Riley decided to join me in the room. I somehow messed up my intro video uh, in my system, so I have to reload it. And I was trying to do that, and Facebook doesn't start late, so I didn't get a chance to do it. So we're not going to have it today, but let's get started. Let's bring on our guest. We have everybody knows Mr. Q Tyus. Hey Q, what's up?
Good evening.
Good evening. And we have Miss Christina Tyus. Come on in, Miss Chris. How are you, girl? I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm fine.
All right. So, all right. So let's jump right on in to this conversation. I'm really excited about getting started. Good evening, everybody. Yeah. All right. Oh, let me turn it off my phone. Oops. I have so many technical problems today. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So tonight's topic is surviving infidelity. And I had somebody ask me, why would you want to close out 2020? Why would you want to wait till the end of the year to talk about this? And I'm waiting till the end of the year to talk about this because I'm waiting till the end of the year to talk about this. And it's a good way to kind of end this year and kind of get things going. So I want to jump kind of right into the conversation. And again, I want to thank both of you guys for joining me today. I want to jump right into the conversation, and I want to just throw it out there. The question, can relationships survive infidelity? And I'll start with you, Christina.
I feel like you can. It depends on the relationship. I guess the state of the relationship, or whether you're willing to work towards repairing the relationship, is what depends on that.
Okay, so given that as the case, what would be the motivation then for someone saying, let's try to work this out?
It could be a lot of things. Your children. Sometimes children plays a big factor. Like, I'm willing to repair this for the sake of my children. A lot of people have that. Whether you willing to, if this person means enough to you to save this relationship. Sometimes if you're at the dead end of your relationship, sometimes it's not, I don't know, it's worth saving.
Okay. And I think that's interesting. Q, should kids be a factor, a deciding factor in why someone would want to stay in a relationship?
Okay.
And why are you blinking fast? I want to know why.
First of all, the first question that you asked, can a relationship survive? Of course it can. Otherwise, that would give the assumption that everyone who's maintained or stayed in a relationship never had to deal with infidelity, and that's just not the truth. People who tell you that or make you believe that, then it could be the case in some instances, but a lot of people just don't tell you about all their businesses, all their business. But a lot of but a lot of people who've been in a relationship any length of time, they got some stories. Whether they told you not, they got some stories. So of course that is. Now, should the deciding factor, to get to your next question, the deciding factor, if it should be a factor. It's something that you do have to factor in. You better think about that. That's something that you definitely want to think about and consider on both sides. But it shouldn't be the sole reason that you stay with a person.
Okay, I like what you said because I want to be specific that I don't think kids should be the factor, but I certainly think kids should be a factor. but not the factor. Because here's what happens. You stay together because of kids. The kids grow up, kids get grown, kids move on. Then what? So you're going to delay the inevitable by 10 years, 15 years, however old the kids were at the beginning. Yeah.
Wasted time, and you drop your stock in the market too.
Yeah, and wasted time for parties. Absolutely.
Your stock has plummeted over that time.
I like Michelle, I think, agrees with me and say, no, kids can't be the factor. But I do like what Diane says is I think whatever the motivation, they have to have a plan for recovery. And I want to get into that in a little bit. I still want to kind of prod the horse a little bit before I get into this plan of recording. Okay, so here's the next question. Not can they survive, but what about should they survive?
So this is going to be the most there's never going to be a right answer in this segment, 100% right answer, because I think with this topic, everything is circumstantial. So anything that I say, if another person looks at it through their circumstance or through a different, just, the way that they view it,
a different lens,
it's going to be different. It's everything about what's usually, not everything, just about everything is going to be circumstantial depending on each specific situation. So I'm sorry, ask the question again. I already know all the comments that's gonna come back to say, no, you wrong. But go ahead. I'm saying, ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Should relationships survive infidelity? Oh, and I forgot to put this misnomer out for everybody that's listening. I know I made a typo spelling error in the flyer. I know that, but once I put it out, it was too late. So that's why I didn't change it. All right. So Q, should they survive?
Yes.
Yes. Christina?
Yes.
Interesting that you both said yes, they should survive. But why?
I feel like one mistake ain't bigger than any other mistake. Like, ain't nobody perfect. People make mistakes. People mess up. So it can recover.
Okay. Michelle says no. Michelle, type in the comments why you don't think they should, because I want us to talk about it from your perspective, your opinion. So you said no, they should not survive. So type in the comments, let me know why. Okay. So Christina, you said yes, they should, and because one mistake shouldn't kind of be the end. And that kind of brings me to a question. People, Dr. Bright, really can spell. No, I don't need no defense. They know I can spell. All right. So this kind of brings me to, I guess, another real kind of tough question here. Should there be, and this is kind of based upon what Michelle's kind of position is, which is no, should couples have a red line in the sand that says this line is the point of no return, period, point blank, no exceptions? Should there be, and not just about infidelity, but in anything, should there be this red line that as a part of the relationship you cannot cross, because if you do, there's no coming back from?
Everyone should have their own level of standards and parameters. So yes, there are certain things that you say, yes, we can work through these things. No, I'm not willing to deal with this. I mean, you should have standards, because if you don't have standards, then you'll keep allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. But to go back before that, anyone, I'm about to make some people mad. Watch this. Anyone who think that that you shouldn't stay in a relationship after infidelity, I would argue that you shouldn't have been in a relationship in the first place. Because if you are not willing to entertain the possibility that could happen, then you're not living in reality. and that's just not reality. Now, of course, you can go in a long-lasting monogamous relationship, but if you're not willing to entertain the possibility that this could happen, you shouldn't even be in a relationship.
Wow.
What was the I'm sorry, what was the second part? What was the actual? I keep saying different stuff that ain't your question. What's the actual question that you said?
My actual question is, should there be a red line in a relationship that says you cross this line, it's over, point blank, period, whatever?
I think there should be. I think everything in a marriage, I think there should be some type of discussion, but there should be red lines to certain things. And not only that, see, there's different degrees to what those parameters and what those red lines mean. Sometimes divorce is not always shouldn't be the first option all the time. Sometimes it should be, I cannot continue to stand by you, condone you, support what you're doing. So you got to go until you get yourself ready, or I got to go until you get yourself together, or counseling is going to be your pathway back to, getting this relationship to work. But sometimes just saying, oh, people have a warped mindset of what forgiveness means. It ain't just you forget about it, but no, there needs to be a pathway back to, making sure we tighten up this relationship. And a lot of stuff is not always there. Sometimes there should be different penalties. I don't know if penalties is the word, but some things you should not allow certain things to stand in your presence. So somebody got to go until this gets fixed, or if it don't get fixed, then we need to go to the next steps. Okay.
So I'm gonna back this thing up just a little bit and go back to should relationships survive? And we had a no. Then we had some comments come in that I really want to address in respect to that. What about forgiveness then? I mean, shouldn't forgiveness play a part of every relationship? And okay. Oh, Michelle, I thank you so much for sharing. I didn't. Let me just put it out there. And thank you for being open to share this. I can only speak from experience. I've been cheated on in a past relationship, and it was a turnoff. The relationship became toxic, and and the trust was broken. The trust is broken. And I guess you didn't get to finish typing. Okay, so Bishop Foreman, I want you to jump in there. Because trust is broken, because an infidelity happened in a relationship, trust was broken. Do we just throw away the whole thing?
Well, I think every relationship is different. And good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me, Bishop. I think every relationship is different. I don't think there's a one size fits all. And I think that's the danger when you approach any relationship with a one size fits all approach. I happen to believe that once a person cheats on an individual, it is going to be very difficult for that person to not cheat on that individual again. They may not cheat on a future person, but having counseled hundreds and hundreds of couples, that's been the experience that I've seen. I've seen situations like what the viewer just mentioned, where trust was broken. Once trust was broken, the reality is if trust is broken, it's over. And the only two that don't know are the two that are still pretending like they don't need trust to make the relationship work. I've also seen scenarios where there's been infidelity and they've made it work after that. So I think every scenario is different. So I don't think we can paint that with a broad stroke. And so I don't think, and let me also say this, it's not appropriate to demonize people who say, you know what, I can't keep going after this. You've broken my trust. I can't keep going. It's not also appropriate to demonize people who say, you know what, I want to stay and try to see if we can make it work. It's every situation is different. Every scenario is different. But forgiveness means I move forward. It does not mean that we rewind. So there may not be any fellowship after I forgive you. There's nothing that says I have to do that.
So, Christina, I saw you shaking your head when he said that someone should not be demonized for saying, I can't move forward with this, or someone should not be demonized for saying, I want to give this another try. Tell me from because it's 3 men and 1 lady, so you're going to kind of get picked on a lot, unfortunately, to kind of give us the female perspective a little bit. But is it easier for a female or a male, in your opinion, to move forward after there's been infidelity?
I think it depends on who cheats.
Okay.
Females tend to get over cheating more than men. Men take it in a totally different way when they're cheated on, so it's a little bit harder for them to get over. I think they see us in this light of women don't cheat like men do, so they don't forgive as quickly as we do. But sometimes we make situations bad too, because if you agree to move forward, we tend to do stuff like, who's that on the phone? Where you going? And so it's hard for y'all to move forward if the female is continue to stay in the same place of, we agreed to make this work, but everything you do, I'm going to bring up that you cheated on me, or I'm going to continue to accuse you. And so it's hard to move forward if both people aren't going to agree. Let's fix the trust and actually move forward, because a part of me earning trust is trying to trust you, giving you, until you break it again. So
interesting, because that kind of goes into kind of what Diane talked about earlier, which was about having a path to kind of move forward on. And so let me ask you about this, Q. I'm gonna start with you. I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. Well, before I ask the question, I want to address something that Pastor E said. He said you should consider what was done versus why it was done. Is that an important consideration that should be made?
Why? I think why is more important than what was done. If you understand the why, then you can correct the behavior from it happening again, versus what was done. Sometimes that's not as important. Now, the other part, I'll jump off of what Christina said when they asked who handles it, between men and women. My first thought is the person who suffers insecurity the most will handle it the worst. A person who is secure, even though they're hurt, even though they may have some things that they go through, a person who has the proper amount of self-esteem, they don't internalize it to say, why did you do this to me? No, it's you got some issues you need to deal with, but you don't internalize it and take it personal the same way that someone else would, because you know who you are, your value, your worth, what you're good at and what you're not good at, and you don't take their fault and attach it internally to you. So a person who has good self-esteem, or the one who's more secure within themselves, will handle it the best.
Okay, and I'm gonna get to you in a minute, Pastor E. But I want Bishop Foreman to address this. The question says, "Is that perspective that Bishop Foreman stated applied both married couples as well as non-married couples?"
So I guess the question would be which angle, because there was a few things. Is it, if it's about the demonization, then I think it certainly would. I think it certainly would be apropos in both scenarios. Again, some people are going to be okay trying to move forward. Some people are it's okay that they say, I can't move forward with that. Like, once trust has been broken, you have a breach. And if you want to go scripture, the scripture says the foundation is destroyed. What are the righteous going to do? Like, if there's no solid foundation, which is trust, some people just aren't willing to do the work. And that doesn't mean that they didn't love the person or weren't fully committed to the relationship. Some people just aren't going to be willing to do that level of work to try to build forward.
Now, Bishop, I do have to ask you this.
Sure.
If they love the person, then wouldn't they have what's in them to do the work?
Again, but you're asking, that's like asking, and I'm going to use a very extreme example, but I think when I go extreme, we'll understand it. That's like asking someone who has been violated sexually to meet with who's violated them and do the work to understand the what, understand the why, understand that. Somebody might want to do that. Somebody might not want to do that. And neither perspective is right or wrong. Neither position is right or wrong. Loving a person, the first thing, love is patient, love is kind. Doesn't say love is foolish. It doesn't say love is cheated on. It doesn't say like, and I think especially Christian women get put, and maybe Christina agrees or maybe disagrees with this, I don't know, get put in this box of, well, you need to stand by your man, and no matter what happens, you need to be there. Well, that's not Bible, to put subjugation on people, to say that I have to stay with somebody that's cheating on me, laying around. No, that's nothing scriptural or Christian about that. To the woman who wants to the man that wants to the man that says no, to the woman that says no. But love does not mean that I have to do the work to fix you. That's your issue, not mine.
Okay, Jones, tell me what you mean by there needs to be some consideration of the motivation behind, because Q was quick to say, no, I don't think so.
Wait, say it again.
You said that the motive of why the infidelity happened should be a consideration. In Q, if I read his body language correctly, he was like, no, that doesn't need to be a consideration. Should the motivation behind why the action happened be considered in this decision of whether or not we move forward or we don't?
I think personally, because adultery is always either black or white, and nobody considers the gray. And so from my perspective, I think when people look at any type of adultery or, cheating or infidelity or what have you, people only consider the act, right? But they never understand. So watch this. Most people forget that the totality of a relationship is not all in the bedroom. The totality of a relationship goes beyond the bedroom, right?
Okay.
And I think literally and realistically, sometimes when there's infidelity, sometimes that is someone trying to fill something that is empty. And watch this, and I want you to understand something. And I hope people understand what I'm about to say. Sometimes infidelity is not about sexual fulfillment. Sometimes infidelity is about attention. Sometimes, because see, we make the mistake of looking at people from the outside. We look at couples on Facebook. We look at couples from afar, but we don't know what goes on inside that home. And so when you have a woman or a man, right? If you have a woman at home saying you ain't this, you ain't that, but you got this other one at work saying you are my Superman, that literally fills a void of something that was missing at home. Now, I did not ever say I condone it, but I also said you got to consider the totality of infidelity without sex being the main thing. Because I believe infidelity is greater than sex. And I also say this, two of the most amazing married couples I know, two of the most examples of what marriage is that I know personally, two of those people have encountered infidelity. And so you can either choose to work on it and fix it, or you can choose to leave. But it's not always, according to who the person is. According to who the person is, it doesn't always equal death.
All right. So Q, I'm gonna jump back to you. What do you think about what Pastor E said?
I agree with him 100%. I think you misquoted him when you said that.
Oh, so I misread your body.
Yeah, I think because you alluded to Pastor E was saying that the what is more important than the why, and I think he's talking about why the underlying reasons behind why a person does such a thing needs to be explored as well.
All right,
and I agree with that 100%.
Perfect. Christina, let me ask you: if a woman cheats, why would she cheat?
Lack of attention.
Q, what are you doing this for, Q?
Why
What are
you
you
say go ahead?
There's a lot of reasons, but probably I think a lot of it is insecurity.
Hold on, I didn't ask you. I was asking
Also,
Christina.
I'm not going to insecurity. What they're lacking in a relationship is the main reason why females cheat. If they're not getting them compliments or treated like maybe how they was treated in the beginning, or they not getting the love and they keep saying it over and over, then yeah, it's easy. Because I mean, a female can get out their car at a gas station and they getting hollered at. You get what I'm saying? So it's sometimes it's just that attention.
Bishop, why do men cheat?
I mean, again,
Some of the same reasons.
right. I would agree. I would agree with Christina on that. I mean, there's a variety of reasons. I think cheating has more to do, I think, with an individual and their own internal issues, insecurities, as mentioned, things going on with the individual. I think many times more than even the context of their relationship, because typically their patterns and behaviors are typically infidelity carries over to other areas of their life in terms of consistencies and other things. Just so I think there's a variety of reasons. I don't think it's a one shot, one kill for why anybody does anything.
Diane says something that I think is very interesting. I think it's never one person's fault. Both people have to assume some responsibility. Q, what do you think about that?
I think oftentimes that's the case. Sometimes it's just one person's fault, but in a lot of instances that is true. It can be, listen, okay, so yeah, the person who always commits the deed is the one who's looked at the worst. But yeah, there's other factors in there also, and the other factors are usually the things that you'll never see. So that's the way you handle your partner, and even what Christina talked about, the attention that people are looking for. Now, again, I keep using this word insecure, because if you are insecure, it don't matter how much attention you get. It don't matter how much your partner tell you you're beautiful, how attractive they are to you, how they can give you all the compliments in the world. If you're insecure, that's not going to matter, and you're not going to hear none of that. And you still going to keep searching when you really need to deal with yourself. But outside of that, a lot of times the spouse, they're not telling you that you're beautiful. If your partner is a 4 times a week, if they need sex 4 times a week and you only giving it to them once every 2 weeks, you're contributing to the problem, especially if you know that. So you better figure out ways to make sure that you satisfy what they're looking for. So then you can't look at them and look like they're a horrible person when you knew what their appetite was like and you wasn't feeding them. You play a part in that also. And what I also say, just piggybacking off of what Christina was talking about, how people looking for attention. There's a lot of women, and yeah, I'm about to speak for women right now. I'll do it. I don't care. There's a lot of women who will also, they're not actually, and this kind of goes Pastor E was saying too. Some of them, even when they cheat, they're not actually looking for sex. They just wanted the attention. They wanted the conversation. They wanted that. And then when that part of the relationship got to the level of sex, because they didn't want to lose that connection and those things that they were looking for, they still want this person to compliment them and give them gifts and spend time with them. They will end up having sex with a person because they still have a desire for those other things that they're getting. So that's their compromise in some situations.
Wow, that's a very interesting perspective. I'm finna go here. So would anybody on the panel disagree with the statement I'm about to make? And that is, infidelity can be both physical and emotional. Would anybody disagree on the panel with that? So, Pastor E, would women fall more, in your opinion? Do you think women fall more into the emotional infidelity while men fall more into the physical infidelity?
I would answer it this way. it all depends on what the man is searching for. Because I think, y'all, I hope they were listening. I think Q hit it on the head. Like, it's hard to desire just sex when you have sex laying next to you every night, right? It's that other stuff, bro, that they're looking for. You know, um, Elder Paul wrote something in here. I kind of have it read, so I hope I don't misquote him. But he says men don't need validation from women, right? And I absolutely disagree with that, because when I'm cutting the grass, I want to turn around and see that she's looking out the window watching me. You know,
Okay.
like seriously, right? I want validation from my woman. You know what I mean? And I think between men and women, the problem is most men just want to admit it. But a lot of it is so emotional that it's ridiculous. You know? And so, but I do think with women, only because we're two different creatures, I believe with women, it can become more emotional, right? But it also truly depends on what you're lacking and what you're searching for.
So, Bishop Foreman, so you said earlier, hey, I've talked to hundreds, thousands of relationships. You have a very thriving and active spiritual guidance kind of practice, if you will, as a part of your overall church ministry. In those instances where you've had to kind of counsel with, talk with folks who are having marital relational problems where infidelity has been experienced, what would you think the majority of the rationale that you've heard from an excuse perspective or a read perspective? What's the majority of the response that you've gotten?
Sure, I think that's a very good question. One, it's always issues that were not handled during the dating process. And if you date wrong, you marry wrong. Issues that were not handled during the dating process. Similar to some of the things Q mentioned, discussions about expectations. That ranges from sexual to financial. Kids, especially blended families, that's actually the majority of infidelity with the blended families, because there's us and them. That's a bad
dynamic. That's a bad dynamic right there.
Yeah, it's a very bad dynamic, but that creates a lot of to some of the emotional things we're talking about, a feeling of rejection. So rejection is a very potent tool. Rejection is more powerful than love. You even see that in the scripture. Adam's fear of rejection makes him run from God. So, rejection is a very potent thing. So that feeling of rejection. So it's all typically underlying issues that were not dealt with properly in the dating process, things that we'll deal with it later. As long as we got love, it'll be fine. And that's not true. There are things that need to be properly discussed, worked through up front. So then later on, those things will become issues. A lot of it, frankly, though, deals with a lack of communication. And I believe communication is the root of every problem in your body. If your body's not communicating, you have disease. In your mind, if your mind's not communicating, you've got some mental diminishment and what have you. So I think the root of every problem is going to be communication in some way, form, or fashion. And that's what I've seen.
All right. Q, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I just want to add on to what everybody is saying. These are all different pieces and portions of reasons, but I want to make sure we reiterate the main reason is people like sex. So when you're single and when you're not in a relationship, what reason do you need to have? You don't need a reason. You want it because you like it and it's enjoyable. So sometimes people come up with all these reasons why she didn't do this and he didn't do this and this is how I was feeling. But also, in addition to that, you like sex. That's all.
Okay. I want to jump back to you, Christina. Then I'm going to hit Pastor E with this question, then Q. But Christina, who's more likely to do tit for tat? You cheated, so I'm a cheat. Men or women?
Women. It's a good vaccine. I'll admit that.
I knew you were gonna say it. That's why I went on and just threw it out there. I knew you were gonna say it. Women, but okay. So when a woman responds that way, let me ask you: do you think that makes it easier for her to move forward because she was like, "I got him back"?
We want you to feel the same pain we felt, so it will make it easier for us to. I mean, in reality, do it. No, it don't make a relationship better with you doing that. But in our minds, sometimes it's like he felt the pain that I felt. Let's move forward. It don't make sense.
And that ain't gonna work, but yeah,
It's not. But in our
right.
mind,
But yeah, I got you.
Okay, Pastor E, you're muted. There you go. Paul says, you said you were talking about validation. Is validation and appreciation the same thing?
Say it again.
I'll put it on the screen. Is validation and appreciation the same thing?
Oh yeah, I can get appreciation from my church. I can get appreciation from my neighbor. I want validation from my wife. You know, there's nothing like it. I think what happens is, we talked about the whole people are different things. I mean, men and women are different creatures, whatever. And I think one of the problem is, I think most men want validation. They just don't want to say it. You know, so they hide behind appreciation. But men want validation. They want validation, and I want that. You know, I want that when I'm not in the room, but my wife's family come against me, right? Her being there is like me being in the room. I want for my wife to brag on me about how good of a husband I am. You know, that's validation. I don't need appreciation. I want validation, right? And so I think most men won't admit that, but we really do.
Q, would you think validation and appreciation are separate things?
I think they're verbalized in different occasions. They can be similar, but I think there's different. All right, I'm gonna give you. Are we PG or we PG-13? What are we doing today?
We NC-17.
Okay, and so, all right, I'm just give you PG-13 version.
Bishop, okay, R. I'll bring it down to R. But go ahead and give me
all I need is PG-13. That's fine.
Okay.
So to give an example, sex. You're having sex. You can get appreciation after the fact. Once it's over, you can be told how much it's appreciated, and yes, that's well. But validation can come during the process, and it can also affect your performance, and you can take your B- up to an A- if you get the right type of validation in the middle of the act. So, you know, appreciation is good on the back end, but validation during the process makes a difference.
Okay,
Roy, the next time Q asks about PG-13 or whatever, do not
that's
allow
PG-13. Is that's PG-13,
no,
right?
You don't want to go there. You don't want to go
You said if he has to get clearance, then I probably should not let him.
Yeah, just don't even let him talk. I appreciate it now.
I thought it was
But you know
PG-13.
I think you did pretty good there, Q. Let's see. Diane says validation is extremely important if that is your love language. Everyone has a different love language.
I agree with Diane.
Okay.
I agree with her. That was good.
So, Bishop Foreman, a woman says, I cannot move past this. What is the path forward? How is the path forward? I'm going to get Christina on that one too, but I want to start with Bishop.
Yeah, if she can't move past that, I mean, she can't move past that. I mean, if it's at an impasse, it's at an impasse. Again, I'll go back to this what I said before. There's no demonization in that. That doesn't mean she's weak or incapable or anything. It just means she can't get past that. There are certain non-negotiables that every individual has, and that's well within their rights to do that. So if a woman says, I can't get past it, then she can't get past it. Then that means we need to figure out what we're going to do after this, because this is over.
Bishop Bright, do you just let me, because he just said something really important.
Okay.
We should stop expecting them to get past it. Because in reality, you broke a vow. Whatever the reason. So I'm sitting in the kitchen watching TV tonight, waiting on the football game, and I'm here with my second mom, and we're listening to the show, right? And you ask you about whether or not it's a deal breaker or not. And immediately she said, it is for me, right? And so what happens is, wait, let me say this. So I said, why is it a deal breaker for you? She said, it's just some things I will not stand for and or allow, right? You cannot punish people for taking their vows seriously. And so just because a person won't get past it, we shouldn't put them in a position to where we expect them to get past it. And make
but isn't that a Christian thing to do? And you see my air quote. Isn't that the Christian thing to do?
The Bible's okay with it. So, you know, but I honor that out of her, right? And so we've made it so permissible, right? Because what happens is a lot of people stay in this relationship after infidelity out of guilt. And so if they stay in it out of guilt, right, the relationship still is never the same. Because even though most people don't have a forgiveness problem, right, they got a forgetting problem. And so from that point on, they only look at you through what you did. And they better not know the woman. Because every time they see you, they're going to see her. And so I think it's a harder thing to, I mean, you got to be some kind of Christian to truly forgive. And so I think it's honorable for a person to honor their vows enough to not be able to get past it. I'm sorry, Christine, it's your turn.
Go on, Christine.
You could forgive somebody and still not want to continue, because if it's your breaking point, there's no point of staying in a relationship. It's not going to go anywhere if you feel like you can't get past it. So if you can't get past it, you might as well end the relationship, because that's how you turn into that bitter woman, by hanging on to something that you couldn't get past, and you just steady damaging a relationship. So it becomes toxic at that point if you can't get past it. It don't have nothing to do with me not being saved. It don't have nothing to do with me not forgiving you. That was my breaking point. You didn't honor our vows. I can't get over this. And we shouldn't make nobody feel bad about that. Can it get past infidelity? Yes, but it depends on the person. If that's your breaking point, you might as well check out.
And for the person who cheated, if that other person is telling you they can't deal with it, then you don't want to stay in that relationship. You just better go and listen to them and get out. That ain't, because now you really, just get out. If they tell you, believe them.
I think that's a good point too. If you've been told, so somebody's being told, hey, I can't do this anymore. I mean, should they be fighting to keep this relationship? You're saying no. If somebody says, hey, I can't get past this, there's no sense in fighting anymore.
Right, because reconciliation does not always lead to recycle. So we can go through it, discuss it, forgive and that and this and that, but it doesn't always mean to continuance. And I think if a person says I can't really get over this, you best believe they ain't gonna get over it. And I think that's a hard thing to do, to get over that.
I would still suggest counseling, number one. And then number two, how do you know you can't get over it? Have you been cheated on before? And that's something that's a deal breaker. Because if you ain't never been cheated on, how do you know that you can't get past it? Sometimes that can just be initial emotional response. But I mean, even when a person says something like that, I think that's still circumstantial also.
Bishop, Q said something. I want you to address this. He said, how do you know you can't get past it? I still would recommend counseling. What do you think about that?
I think counseling is absolutely something that would be wise. But there's a saying Abraham Lincoln had, and I'll borrow the saying: "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." So if a person has decided that they can't, counseling may be of moot effect. I still think it's a good principle. I still think it's a good practice to do and to see. And give it a reasonable amount of time, and if in that reasonable amount of time, if that person is still there, that's where they're at. And I agree with Q's point. If you were the cheater, you don't want that, because you're going to be held accountable over and over and over and over, and that's going to repeat. And then if you're the person that says, I can't get over it, and this is why we have so many relationships that are in turmoil. 50% of first marriages and divorce, 67% of second marriages, 73% of third marriages, because they think love is something to be achieved and accomplished, and it is not. Longevity does not mean success in relationships, not at all.
So,
and I'm talking about divorce counseling also. I ain't saying, well, no, let's try to make this. No, I think even at the level of divorce, you should still get counseling, almost like an exit interview, and then make sure that that both parties understand everything that's in play with everything that goes along with the divorce, and also for the person maybe who cheated and the person who was cheated on. That goes back to what Pastor E was saying. It's good to understand why you feel this way.
All right. So, Elder Paul said,
Bishop Wright.
Yeah.
Let me deal with that, Elder Paul.
Okay.
Once you've been cheated on, it's almost the reverse. I'm in love with you, but I don't love you anymore. That's why it hurts so much, because I'm in love with you. But once you cheated on me, that changes everything about how I feel about. Because you know one thing, if most people they only stay in it because they're in love with them. People can be in love with you and hate you at the same time.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of times it hurt the most. A great number of times, it hurts so bad because they are in love with you, right? You know when they don't love you no more. When you're cooking your own breakfast, washing your own clothes, right? You ain't got no more sugars on the way out, sugar on the way in, right? But because they're in love with you, sometimes it delays their leaving. But I think the worst thing you can do is stay in a relationship after they've already said they can't get over it. That is dangerous. It'll never be the same, ever.
I want to jump to Bishop Foreman, then I want to go back to Christina. But what do you think about this phraseology of "I love you, but I'm not in love with you," Bishop Foreman?
Yeah,
We had that conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I think it's a nuance that, and I think often it's a distinction that's made that's not necessarily a difference in practice. I mean, if we were to get real technical about it, love is a decision. It's not an emotion. There are different types of love. The Greek word for love: erotic love, eros, philia. We did have that conversation. Brotherly love, all of that. So I think when a person says, I don't like, me personally, I do not. I fully reject the concept of being in love. Because if you can fall into love, you can fall out of love. Love is a decision. To the degree, to the extent, to the scope of that love, that is totally different for each individual. Bishop, you and my friend from 14, 15 years. I love you. Now, I mean, but that is a philia love. That's a brotherly love. If you need anything, you call me for something today, and it's shipping out to you tonight.
Shine. Thank you, Jesus. Shine. Okay.
But right. So, but at the end of the day, there's different.
You're not in love with
him. Right. But from a romantic standpoint, again, I think people use that nuance. I don't like the concept. I just think it creates these it makes these really circuitous cycles of how people process the concept of love. And then you get a statement like that, and then you ask somebody to articulate that. And sometimes it's very difficult for people to articulate that. I think what people are really trying to say is, I love you in the sense that I care about you, I'm concerned about you, but do I want to be with you romantically, sexually, etc.? Nah. I think that's what people are trying to articulate.
What they're really saying is deuces. Let's get Christina. I want you to jump into this, Christina. How do you get trust back once it's broken?
Number one, counseling. A lot of times that's something that we don't do. We just try to start doing it ourselves. But I feel like if you're in a relationship and trust has been broken, because a lot of times it ain't necessary cheating. It could be you lied or you kept something from me or you did something that I asked you not to do. So trust can be broken in a lot of ways. But I feel like we don't do counseling enough to help get through a lot of things. And I feel like that's probably an important way to try to get trust back.
Okay, let's see. Lady Bright says, I believe that counseling is a very good idea. It would help them heal individually if they choose to go their separate ways, or to heal as a couple if they choose to stay. I agree with that 100%. Let's see. Yes, good point. You must consider the cost of counseling. If willing, time is always a factor. What does that mean, Diane? Tell me what time is always a factor. I want a package, but this ain't about you, woman.
It's coming to your house.
You quit asking for stuff. This ain't about you. Okay. I like all of that. And I kind of want to sum it up here. You know, we are talking about surviving infidelity, and I think the overall consensus, the overall point, the overall truth of the matter is there is not one right answer that applies to every single couple. I think Q said this at the very, very beginning. Individuals involved in that relationship are going to have to make the decision that works best for them. And that decision, and this is something I think is very, very important, that decision is individually made before it can be collectively made. And I want to repeat that because I believe that strongly, is that decision about moving forward is individually made before it's collectively made, because you can all agree in words, talking, but if it ain't real for you as an individual, it ain't going to work no way. And in the words of Bishop Foreman, the only person that don't know it yet are y'all. And so I certainly believe that you have to consider that, make those decisions individually, and then figure out how you're going to reconcile that collectively. And I do believe the best way to do that is for you to be kind of guided, not told what to do, but kind of guided in how you map out the move forward. That's right. Counseling is always a good fit. Absolutely. Time will heal if allowed and willing by both parties. Diane, I don't know if that's true. Maybe I'm wrong. Does time heal, Christina?
Yeah, I don't know. Without work, do it heal? I don't know if time without work and effort and counseling, just time, gives you time to forget, I guess. I don't know. No, I don't agree.
It can. Yeah, time can definitely heal. And a lot of things that people say that they can't forgive or they can't forget, then it's really, that's their emotions speaking oftentimes. Time can heal in addition to changed behavior. That's it. So if you actually change your behavior, you change the way you communicate, the thing that you messed up in, you don't run across that bridge anymore, then yes, time can heal. And what she also said, if I think I remember what she said, if you got to allow yourself to. Now, if you choose to hold on to something, then yeah, you can choose to hold on to something forever if you want to. If you want to heal, then time along with changed behavior, and a new, I think she also talked about a pathway. Absolutely, you can.
I would say this, and Tony, don't you say nothing when I say this too. You understand me, since you're listening. But I remember when we were Tony and I first got married. Now, we've been married for 28 years. Amen. 28 and a half years we've been married. And let me tell you, we not like cheese, honey. We like wine. Because cheese spoil over time, but wine only gets better over the time. All right. So that's our relationship. But I remember telling her as a young guy, I mean, well, I was 21 when we got married, 22, whatever. I told her, I said, if you ever cheat on me, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to quadriplegic you so that you can live handicapped knowing that the reason you're in that state is because you cheated on me. Bishop Foreman, why are you laughing?
That's just on a whole nother level, Bishop. That's a whole nother level.
I was friends with him then. He did say that.
I did, Eric. You know I said it. You know,
I know seriously.
I know he said it.
Yeah.
I said that to say that when I think about the comment that time heals, I just, sir, you can't say that online. Elder Mark said, sir, you can't say that online. That was 28 years ago, Paul. No, but I was saying it to say when I was thinking about, time being a healer, I don't know that my personality allows for that. I mean, and not just for infidelity, and let me tell you, not just for infidelity, because there's some relationships that I no longer have because that line that I talked about very, very early on, it was crossed, and I cannot get past it.
But you made a choice on that.
People like that. I think there's some people that draw that line, and it doesn't matter the circumstances. That's the line. You know what I mean? And I think it's all individual. And I was thinking about something, and I want to know if this makes sense to y'all.
Okay.
Because I have no rationale for saying this, so I'm not going to say nothing deep. I wonder if time heals or does time build?
Okay, tell me what you mean. And we have about 3 minutes left, so tell me what you mean.
Okay, what I mean by that is, so I see people. I have two couples that I know personally when there was infidelity. So my question is, when I see them now, their marriage is so flourished that it's ridiculous, right? So my question is, did the time build them? Was the time that healed them? Or was it corporate? Did they both do
it takes time to build. It takes time to build, but you have to choose to build. And if you find value in their relationship, then that's what you'll invest in doing. Now, if you spend the rest of your time doing nothing, arguing, complaining, being bitter, and holding a grudge, then yes, you will continue to deteriorate. But yet, it takes time to build up and tear down. But the key word is building is something that you don't build anything. Nothing just builds itself by mistake. You have to be intentional about building. So if a couple is intentional about building and making it better, they got what they aim for.
So essentially, time is just part of the process.
Time is part of the process, and I think what time does. Thank you for saying that, Diane, because it's a choice, and I agree with that. Time gives you the opportunity to make the decision: am I going to stay? Am I going to go? Am I going to be happy with what I know? All of that kind of stuff. Time gives you the ability to do that. I want to tell you guys all, thank you very, very much, Pastor E, Q, Christina, Bishop Foreman. Thank you all for contributing today. I appreciate it. Listen, I think we have a good thing going on with Outside the Box, and just like with my morning motivation, my Motivating Mondays. I want to ask you, if you are so inclined, can you just send me a $5 offering? I don't want to say offering because that's not the word I want. Can you just send me $5 to help support so I can keep paying for these services? To get on, send it a Cash App. It's scrolling across the screen. I am Roy Bright. Send me $5. Let me keep doing this because I think we are really impacting people all across the world who listen and tune into the show. Guys, thank you so much again. My wife talking about, yes, part 2, please. No, we'll see. But Happy New Year, because the new year, we're going to bring some exciting stuff to Outside the Box. You thought we were kind of raw this year? Baby, you wait to 2021. we're gonna turn up the volume. And Q, I think we're gonna move past PG-13 on some of this.
I got levels. I got a lot of levels.
We're gonna get to some of this R and NC-17. Now we ain't going X. That ain't my type of show. But we certainly gonna have some real mature adult conversations going forward. So everybody, thank you. So, Michelle, you have questions. What do you have a question about, Michelle?
She's probably talking about next week.
Oh.
She's probably picking up Tony's part 2.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Matter of fact, maybe we will. We may do a part 2 next week. All right, bye everybody. I gotta go. See you later.
It was fun. Good night.